Honestly, oh my God, that trailer, just, the rack and then the loop around the top. Oh man, that made so much difference. This is like the mother load. This was sent by a viewer. Thanks, Bill. All right, just a couple minutes after 8. My goal was to hit the road by 8, so we're pretty close. Just a random stop in the middle of the road. I realized I had a thorn in my sock or something, so. Perfect desolation. Yeah. You feel some days are good, some days are not good. Today feels good. Plus, I'm early enough. Okay, September 21st. I saw the sunrise at 7 o'clock even, and it's 63 degrees. It doesn't mean anything. So this is, I don't know, I always get these confused, equinox or solstice. And for I'm standing inside the door right now. That's where the sun is rising right now. That should be due east. Okay, so that's where it is. Okay. Because I've always been thinking I had the bus due straight, but I'm not quite. Now, if I look at, this is actually pretty close. Okay, because there's that. That's pretty damn close. It's closer than I thought it was. So, the house. Okay, so there's this, yeah, we're a little bit off on the house. Also, that wall is not perfectly straight. Yeah, the sun is right there. Okay. Yeah, these are a little bit off. I didn't park the bus on the 21st of September is what happened. Okay, so I'm a few days off, basically. Which means all the panels are probably a little bit off, but not by so much that it makes me really bummed or anything. Yeah. So again, looking at the roof, the sun would have to be about here. So it's just, a few days off, basically. Cool. It's just cold enough out here. It feels actually really, really good. I'm so used to being so hot. But that hill, mostly not visible. And there's another set of hills out here that you can't see at all. So we got a lot of smoke haze right now. I noticed it in the last few days. My eyes kind of burn. It's almost like allergies, but it feels just a little bit different. So, anyway, I had actually adjusted the solar panels a couple weeks early, so they're already in September position. You can see them back there. Cool. I just wanted to get a shot of that. I do that sometimes, but in like June 21st, the sun is just around this peak, and I think it's just on this side of this peak right here. So that's how much it moves. And by winter, December 21st, it'll be way over here. Just kind of fun to keep track of that. Day to day, you just kind of get used to it. But since I have solar panels and my window faces the sunrise, you really notice it when it comes up. So, cool. And right at about 7 o'clock. Typical generator, flux core, MIG welder, whatever. The cart is my trailer for behind the bike right now. Typically, I'm hauling a black tote and then a couple bags of trash. And I have found it nearly impossible to haul trash on this little cart because it keeps falling off in the bag, right? 5 seconds later, it falls off again. It's just really annoying. So, the great part, that's going to be the cargo rack for the next iteration of Turtle. And then it'll just be a top loop, and that'll be basically one piece, but it's going to be bolted together. Now I'm going to weld this conduit together. This is made up of a section of pre-cut leftover pieces from most of this is from the truck tarp tent project. I went through pretty much a bundle, probably a 10-pack of 1/2-inch galvanized conduit. I've got a tubing bender. If I had any more long straight pieces, I would have made this piece out of one piece. But since I had a bunch of these that had 90-degree turns in them, I cut them apart with the chop saw. I'm going to tack them together. If you notice, it's not quite lined up on this end, so I'm going to just tack it a couple times, get the clamps off it, pull it back together, close up that gap. It's easier to tack it and then close it up, I think. And then once it's closed up, then I'll do a finish weld. And this has got to be just good enough to keep trash from falling off. You know, it's not super structural. That's why I'm using the conduit. And you're probably not, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to weld galvanized, toxic gas, something like that. Okay, I'm outside, I'm in the wind. It's really not that big of a deal out here. As long as it doesn't blow right up inside the helmet, we'll be fine. That's kind of fun how that turned out. So the issue is conduit's pretty thin. I kept blowing through it, so I turned the heat way down on the welder, voltage way down, about 3. And I built it up a lot, so then I had a lot of rough spots. So I just took the grinder and smoothed it out again, and then I went over it with the flap wheel. That guy. And I was just trying to smooth it out, and pretty soon I'm polishing it. I'm like, that looks kind of nice. It's honestly, I mean, there's a lot of pinholes and stuff, and you know, it's not a perfectly good weld or anything like that, but the polishing effect, it almost comes up looking like aluminum. So kind of get the idea. It's not perfect or anything, but so you get the idea. It looks kind of nice. So if I would have actually clamped it straight and everything, but so this, now how's that for contrast, right? This beautifully polished turd on top of this other turd. Yeah, there you go. So that'll go about like that. Thereabouts. It's just got to be good enough that the trash doesn't fall off. I cut these earlier. Oh, this is a good thing. I finally got a nice wire wheel brush. That thing works awesomely. So I'm dealing with this painted scrap metal, right? So I cleaned up the sides here, got the paint off, so now I can weld to it. All right. These will be all hooked together with 1/4-inch bolts. So I could just take this apart pretty easy. These would fit in the black tote. This, I could probably just sit down like that and wrap a bungee around it, and that would be fine. And then I could just throw stuff on top, right? So I'm trying to make this something that will, like, I don't want to just weld right onto there. I could have, you know, I could just weld it on and be done, but I'd like to have some flexibility just in case something big ends up coming in. Okay, I'd have to say one of the better parts of this is it does make cleanup easier. Just realized it's almost in the shadow of the table here, so. Yeah, I'm going to give you a quick shot when I get it unloaded. I just wanted to get a shot of this with everything on it here. This is half of the tools, I think, from what I was doing out here. Like the generator goes back in there. That's on wheels, so that's easy. That's harsh lighting. It shines nice, though. Yeah, I had thought about putting a pocket on here and then dropping this down like a stake, like you would on your pickup. And it just really didn't seem like it was worth the trouble. And maybe I was getting lazy, so I just didn't do it. So, but for now, that's going to work out okay. This whole assembly is only bolted down to the bottom half of the trailer with these two, which should be completely fine. And then you got this piece of black plastic pipe. What gives with that, right? But when I was designing this, I had it all figured out. A tote would fit on the back half and another tote would fit on the front half, and that fits really well. The problem is, the way that it sits, the tote basically tries to balance on this one, doesn't quite touch this one because of the rail now. And so what ends up happening, the tote just falls down between here, kind of floppy, right? And I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh, probably the smart thing would be to put like a wood deck across the top, just a piece of plywood or something like that. Or something, right? Just something to... And wood would actually be a good idea because it won't scratch up the plastic too much on the tote. And a couple other things. But it'll keep things from sliding quite so much. Dampens it out. Usually it'll make it just a little bit quieter with the wood on there. It soaks up some vibrations, I think. So that might happen, but for now this is just a quick hack. But any, like, the rack part itself is probably going to end up on at least the first prototype of Turtle. So I'm starting to look at some of these things. If it's good enough, it'll at least be on the first prototype. And then we'll see. So that's kind of why I thought it made sense to put this top rail on here, because this I can hook up behind the bike. I can throw a couple totes in there or a couple boxes. Plus, I've got all this room up here, so if I do have a big box, I can hang it off the front. And I usually end up taking a bunch of cargo straps anyway. Okay. Other nice thing, because this is a hand cart, the way it's set up, I can just stand it up, and I think it'll stand still. Yeah. So that'll just sit in the shop, stay out of the way when I'm not using it. It doesn't take up much more room than it did anyway. And the test was, can I fit between the cactus and the workbench? Yep, still fits. Yeah. Tack this on the other one. This is the chassis for Turtle 2020, we'll say. It is a lot stronger than I expected. I've stood on it. I didn't mean to put all three splice butt joints on the same section, but they seem to be holding up okay for now. We'll see. I've got so many marks on here, it's hard to tell anymore. I think now the axle is going to center on this one, and the front steering will be in between here, closer to the front edge. And then my pedals are going to hang way out the front here. So my seat will sit pretty close to this one here. And then I'll lean back so the back of the seat will come to about here, and then that cargo rack we just saw goes in here. So that's that. Life is good. Life is good. I'll see how the bees are doing. Oh yeah, they're still hitting the water pretty good. I just happened to need a break, so I walked out. The sun is way over. Usually there's 3 little bumps here. That's usually due west. I mean, that is due west. So if I look down the side, yeah, it's way over. And this is the 21st. That's further over, I think, than what I figured my error was in the sunrise. That's interesting. This will be an interesting year because it's the first year I've really been here all the time. So getting to pick up on some of the little details I didn't really see before. Pretty cool. This guy needs a seat, needs some wheels, but we're getting there. This time I moved some of the tools up to the bag on the front. This bag is here just for all the stuff I find on the road. I literally come home every time I ride with a handful of bolts and broken trailer parts, and you know, if it's just garbage I don't worry about it, but if I see metal on the road, 1, it's going to be somebody's flat tire, and 2, maybe I can use it, so I'm just salvaging all kinds of stuff. So I started carrying this bag on the front just because I was stopping so much to pick things up. I'm like, I need somewhere to put it all. So that used to be my lunch bag. It works pretty good. It's not military surplus, but it was made probably kind of to military spec. It's got all the loops and the hooks and everything all over it. So I just happen to have the straps in the right spot so I can connect it to the handlebars, and it just sits there just happy as can be. I wear work gloves when I'm riding just because they got a little bit of padding. That helps on the rough surface. Homemade trailer hitch assembly. It's just hooked 2 points on each side right to the bottom tube. Comes back, okay. Made up a swivel assembly so that it can roll left, right, up, down, and side to side. At each pivot is a different direction. Started off with a hand cart. Then I made the bottom tray, and then the top silver part is conduit, electrical conduit. Worked out pretty good. So most of this is trash. Since I'm going past the dump, I'll drop this in a dumpster on the way in. And then the black tote is just a really good tote for this kind of a thing, where if I end up with a bunch of little stuff, I can throw it all in there. Or if I have a box full of cans, maybe I can take the cans out of the box and put them in the tote and shrink things down a little bit. Anyway, so the rack comes from here to here. The yellow box is forward of the rack, and so I've got kind of a front tongue area that I could put a larger box if it doesn't fit inside the rack. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. So the hand cart itself has gone to town several times, and it's a 30-mile round trip, so I've got over 100 miles on those little wheels. It's funny when you think about it like that. The hand cart is also what was used for one of the early turtle prototypes. As far as the first time I mounted a motor to something and rode on it, that was what I used for a chassis. All right, 10 after 8, let's get going. Oh yeah, game face. Woo. Off we go. Just a random stop in the middle of the road. I realized I had a thorn in my sock or something, so. Perfect desolation. Also, my tracks aren't very straight. Load is still doing good. I've already crossed 3 cattle guards. Over the rise, corner a little bit. You can see this hill here comes down. About there is where the dumpster is. The actual landfill is just around the corner from that, but they put one dumpster. That is at the crossroads, so it kind of makes sense, but I'm like, man, it'd be nice if they put the dumpster about 5 miles further, closer to me. So it's about 10 miles from my house to the dumpster, I think. And then roughly 5 miles from the dumpster to town to the post office. Get out of the shadow. Almost 9:30, so it's an hour and a half into it already. Doing good. Today feels a lot better than the last day. I'm not sure what the difference is. The only difference I can think of is I did air up the tires again. That seems to help. So if you got really hard tires, it rolls a little bit better. But they dig into the soft part of the road, so it really depends. Parts of the road look like they've been graded since last time again, so that really messes you up. But then you get other parts here. I got tracks I can drive in now, so it's a little more packed. Here it goes a little better. Dead calm right now, and it's early enough. It's not really too hot, but I am starting to sweat. So yeah, you feel days. Some days are good, some days are not good. Today feels good. Plus, I'm early enough. That is a big difference too. If I'm not late, I'm not stressed out. So I can slow down if I need to. You know, the last time I went, I was running behind. I ended up getting there 5 minutes after she closed for lunch, so I had to wait for an hour. So that's never good. But yeah, today, it's feeling better. So, cool. That's the heavy one. And then there was 4 other boxes. Opened one of them up to make it all fit. Got the chilies. I'm not sure what else I got yet. Coffee. Good eating there. Trailer working fantastically. No trouble at all. Nothing fell off. Very happy with that. So, yeah. Load it up and get on back. This has got to be the best part of the ride. And I've got a tailwind now going home. This hill, it doesn't seem like much. It's just the last little bit that's really steep. But man, does that suck when you're coming up it. And then we come over the top, and that's town. There's the freeway. You can probably see traffic. But from here until way down there, it's about 2.5, 3 miles. It's all downhill. And with the tailwind, we should be okay. Just kind of coast for a while. Depending on the load and my tires, I usually end up starting to pedal after the first half a mile or so because the level's off too much. Now with the load, I usually drag brakes coming down because I got no idea what that trailer is going to do if it's fast and heavy. So we're slowing it down a little bit here. About here, it kind of flattens out a little bit, so I let off the brakes. Oh yeah, you can really feel those beans now. Trailer full of canned food, we're gonna fly. Alright, now we can pedal for a while. Probably not quite a record, but it's 12:30. And I didn't leave the post office until close to 11. Ended up talking to somebody outside. So less than 2 hours and maybe more than an hour and a half. That's pretty freaking good. It took me closer to 2 hours going, but it's uphill. And I would have to say we're getting closer and closer to ideal conditions now. Debrief. Trailer upgrades, awesome. Totally awesome. Nothing fell out, nothing fell loose, nothing wiggled. It just rode happy as can be. Now every time I do this, I'm adding more and more weight, which is a deal. But for now, I'm looking to build things strong. Next year, I'll rebuild things and make them lighter and then test. And if something doesn't break, then it's fine. If it breaks, we'll go back to strong again. Okay, clearly I'm feeling it. But inside today, it's 87 degrees in here. It's much cooler than normal. Now outside in the hard sun, you're right at noon. Okay, so it's about as bad as it can get out there. But this is not nearly as awful as a lot of the other rides. So it's not nearly as awful. It seems like about as good as it gets. I guess what I'm thinking is today was tires were aired up. On the bike, I aired up to, I think, 40, 45, so not 60. You get too hard on that road, it just doesn't work right. Recovery mode. What I'm thinking is, A, it's much cooler. That helped a lot. B, with the tires aired up, even though the ground was soft, there was times I'd hit a hard pack and I would just fly, right? So I'd be riding along and realize, oh, it's good. So I'd kind of kick it a little bit, and that part I'd zoom, and then you hit the next part. It's like, oh, it's really soft, and you're just down to chewing again. It just feels like treading water some days. With the tires aired up, it did seem to pull better, right? And also very, very little wind. There was a couple times they had a bit of a headwind, but it's virtually nothing right now. That makes so much difference. So when I get down low on the recumbent, that's going to make a huge difference. If I do any fairing, that's going to make a difference. If I have electric assist, that's going to make a difference. And what that means to me right now, it'll make basically every ride will be a good day, right? That's kind of what it'll feel like. It'll be like, oh, you got a little bit of a tailwind and you're a little bit downhill all the time. That's what the assist is going to do. It's not necessarily going to be that I don't have to pedal. It's just that I won't have to pedal as hard. And I'm hoping that sitting back on my back instead of leaning forward on my wrists is going to make a lot less stress on, like my arms right now hurt. That gravel road is just constant vibration and washboard. It's pretty awful. Yeah. Okay, not necessarily in order. This is the top of the tote. When I'm back home, I typically throw a lot of this loose stuff into the top of the tote just to have it handy, because I never know what exactly I'm going to get when I get there to the post office, for example. I'm carrying a lot of ratchet straps and bungee cords and stuff like that just in case. I'm still taking the backpack even though I'm not wearing it, just in case I do end up with something like loose. If something doesn't fit anywhere else, I could throw it in the backpack, but a lot of times, like my mail, I'll just throw in there. If I got little packages, I'll throw in the backpack so I don't get lost. And then I don't have any good sunglasses that are prescription, but these are my safety glasses for working outside. They ended up fitting really good. They're like super comfortable to wear. So I'm like, all right, that works. This is like the mother load. This was sent by a viewer. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, I get this email. Hey, yeah, there's some packages coming your way. And I'm like, how many packages? He's like, 4. And I'm like, then I was freaking out because I just ordered my regular batch of groceries. And it also got here today. And I'm like, oh, let's hope they aren't really big boxes. Did okay. That all 4 fit in the black tote. So that was good. But yeah, okay. Got your oatmeal. Trail mix, always a good thing. Beef jerky, yum. What's that for? 8 cans of chili. Coffee. And this is like, this would be like my version of a bouquet of flowers or something like that. A bunch of Cliff Bars. I think that's like one of every flavor they got or something like that. That's pretty cool. I've always seen like regular all of 1 or 1 and 2, but I didn't know they came in a variety pack. That's kind of cool. These are actually packaged from Cliff Bar, which is kind of cool. Yeah, that's we're set for a while again. Pretty cool. What am I going to do if I can't haul it all home again? It's a very real concern, but that worked out just perfect. Thank you very much, Bill. Okay, the last part, this was my restocking order. I had just ordered a bunch of stuff from Sam's Club a week or 2 ago. And then probably the Patreon money came through, so then I decided to stock up again. So things like cough drops. I always get allergies out here, get all stuffed up and stuff like that. So it's not... I don't think I have bad enough allergies, or I hate going to the doctor. Let's just say it that way. So instead of going for an allergy shot, I'll just hit either decongestant or cough drops once in a while. And it's not every day, so I figure I can deal with that. And then my version of Cliff Bars is the big giant 24, not the pretty looking one. And then tuna. And actually what happened is I was going to get something else this time. I had planned on buying 1 12-pack of tuna and then some soup or something like that. And it seemed like every soup I clicked on was not in stock that day, right? I'm like, okay, so every time one didn't come up, I'd be like, oh, I'll just get an extra one of tuna. So pretty soon I had 12 packs of tuna. So it's like, yeah, those are 12 to a pack, so it's 36. That's, if I eat one a day, that's a month's supply, and I probably won't. So them's are good for you. Yeah, you do a single serving of rice and dump in a can of tuna. That's a decent meal out here. That'll get you through. So, yeah, and then we add that in with our various cans of chili and other chili. And so I still got 2 cans of the stew from a while back. Thank you very much. That was also sent by a viewer. And, oh, that's what it was. Yeah. If you get tired of tuna, they got chicken breast in a can. It's the same idea kind of thing. So we are stocked. We're good for now. I guess, my thinking for showing this, I've had people comment, oh, what are you going to do now that you sold your truck? You're going to starve to death, and they knew I didn't like cooking and I didn't like gardening that much. But I'm like, this is how much I hauled today, right? So it's really not a big deal. So if you lived in town, you could easily go shopping on your bicycle. I used to shop on the bus all the time and just take what you can carry and come home on the bus and drop it off. And maybe the next day you'd pick up a few more things. It's just change how you look at it. You don't have to haul it all at one time, I guess. Yeah. All right. I'm going to sit down and drink some fluids. Typically, the day after a ride, I don't do anything. I'm home now. I'll probably do some video editing, maybe. But there's not going to be a lot of time spent outside. I've got plenty of fresh air for today. Tomorrow, we'll see what happens. Cool. Thanks for watching, and especially thank you to everybody who has supported me out here. It's much appreciated between the Patreon. Some people just send me a couple bucks on PayPal every now and then. And then through Amazon, through YouTube, the ads that are on the videos, I'm making enough to make it right now. So if you add up the money I get from the ads, the money I get from Patreon, a little bit of PayPal, a few bucks from Amazon, anybody buys my book on Amazon, I'm making enough to eat. Yeah. I'm not going out to eat, but I got beans and rice. Life is good. All right. Thanks for your support and stay tuned. More coming up. Pretty good haul again today. What we didn't get in quantity, we got in quality or something. These pliers look totally functional. A little bit rusty, but they aren't jammed up. This is missing the dial in the middle and the handle. But it does have a socket on it. I can probably get that off. That one's Craftsman. I found a snap-on wrench last time. These might even be channel lock brand. Can't tell. I probably won't put too much time into cleaning those up. I'll just use them. Typical clevis pin. I don't know what this is. I remember seeing this a couple times on the road, and every time I'd see it, I had a good tailwind. I didn't want to stop. It's a casting of something. It's broken, but this thing, oh my god. Heavy equipment something or other, right? It's like solid. It's got a lot of heft to it. Here, check this out. Yeah, heavy. Crank handle off of something. Probably a U-bolt. It's supposed to hold your frame down to something. Somebody's frame is loose. Yeah, just a little piece of scrap. But yeah, all that, with the exception of the ratchet, ironically, everything was found on the road surface. The ratchet was just a little bit off, but I saw the shine, and I'm like, oh, ratchet. Yeah, crazy, things you just see on the side of the road. And it's becoming a game almost, is how much can I find? Oh, where's the nail? There's a nail around here somewhere. There was a... Hang on, let me go find it. Yeah. On the road. That's... I found several like that. I'm like... One of the other times I found a round of live ammo. You know, like a full bullet ready to go. It's like, seriously, on the road. The bullet had been ran over. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, typical day. But if I don't pick it up, ain't nobody else out here picking up trash, that's for sure. There's no competition for this kind of stuff.